other big news from the tournament today that we're hearing from the England camp is that Mason Mount and Ben Chilwell are in isolation away from the main England squad. This is after they came into contact with Billy Gilmour after the Scotland game the other night. Obviously, Chelsea teammates, they want to spend some time together after the game. But the word coming out of the England camp, Gareth Southgate has said that they are a doubt. He has not ruled them out of the game tomorrow yet. But it's worrying for them, Dee, because, look, as we heard earlier with Billy Gilmour being ruled out of the Scotland game, in an instant, this has all changed for England.
Yeah, well, health and safety is and has to be paramount for the players. And if they had contact, I don't know for how long they had contact with Billy Gilmour, it's probably a precautionary measure to self-isolate them. They may need 1 or 2 negative tests before they are available again. Yes, it'll be a blow because Mount is a very bright player and a regular in that side. Chilwell hasn't featured in the first 2 games. But obviously the uncertainty, that's the thing, because, if that happens, you don't know. There's probably a lot of players in the squad who had contact with Chilwell and Mount. And it's that uncertainty in the back of your mind which certainly doesn't help. But I think by tomorrow we know whether they're available, whether they're not. And I think it shouldn't hinder England's chances or diminish their chances against the Czechs tomorrow.
The other thing we read, Damien, is that the entire squad had lateral flow tests and all tested negative. So these 2 players included have shown a negative test. I know it's precautionary, but I'm sure they'll feel like we were negative.
Yeah, we've tasted that with Ireland, negative tests, but they're still get sent home and miss caps, and these 2 guys are potentially missing a very big game because of being a close contact. Listen, you wouldn't wish COVID on anyone after what it's done to the world, and I'm hoping, I'm sure, and by the sounds of things, they are negative and they're okay. But in the Scottish dressing room, I'm sure they're having a giggle. Billy Gilmour's dominated them on the pitch, and now 2 days later he's sent a couple of them into isolation, so you couldn't make it up, really.
Honestly, I think we all felt, Damien, that we were going to get a lot of COVID during this. And look, and you have obviously experienced this. How frustrating is it in a dressing room when you're literally saying, we have no control over this, this has just been thrown at us, and it's thrown their whole preparations out the window?
Yeah, I tasted, like I said, firsthand, and there was a couple of games, the Welsh game, you've more or less got your starting team, and we were getting told 2-3 hours before a game, well, no, those 5 can't play. So it does cause carnage. I think it's been managed well so far in the tournament. But let's hope it doesn't snowball, not only with England, Scotland and other teams, but, yeah, it can decimate a team literally at the flick of a switch. So fingers crossed everyone's okay.
Yeah, you just have to go back for 1 week. The Spanish... Yeah. They trained with 2 different squads. The 2 right backs were not allowed to see each other in case there's an outbreak in one of the teams. So they've got 11 players available, and it affected the Spanish probably the worst so far in the whole tournament. It may show a little bit in the performance in the first 2 games. So it's obviously it's harsh on the 2 players if they can't feature, if they can't be part tomorrow. But I think in the greater scheme of things, I think. Other teams or other squads have been worse hit.
Yeah, of course. The other big question for Gareth Southgate now is if Mason Mount can't play, who goes in there, Didi?
Well, he's got to play Sancho at some stage. I said this before the first game, I say it now. He's getting a bit of stick now for his team selection in the last game. I think Sancho is the best winger they've got. I'm a big fan of Phil Foden. He's very young. I think at times he shows his inexperience and his immaturity in a way. Sterling hasn't done anything for Manchester City for months. I know he's a big fan because Southgate said he always performs for me. I think Sancho has to play, and obviously it gives you a chance to bring Grealish in the team. The whole nation was crying out for Grealish. I think it gives you a chance to bring him. And the other thing is with Kane, he's been lacklustre in the first 2 games. I would think about, because you can't go if he doesn't score tomorrow, if he doesn't play well tomorrow, is he going to change him then in the first game in the last 16? I would seriously consider playing Rashford up top, play Foden and Sancho either side, Grealish behind. You've got pace, you've got power, you've got guile, what else?
Drop the captain.
Well, at some stage, how long are you going to watch? I think that's a big question, because it's not only he's not scoring, he's been playing badly, and if that's the case, captain, if he's captain or not, it doesn't really matter, because you need 11 players who perform. He hasn't performed. I think the transfer he's asking for is in the back of his mind. I'm sure that Levy said something to his dad or his agent, how much money he wants, and I think in the back of his head it loses or it costs him concentration, and he won't drop him tomorrow, but I think at some stage he has to.
All right, last word to you, Damien, on England.
On England?
Disaster for England? I don't want to be over the top.
I'm still worried for them, you know, even this today with Mount. So Kane, I think he's come out today and says he's going to play. Remember, Maguire has to come back in, so he potentially might change formation. He said, you know, over the past month he knows 10 out of his best 11. He absolutely doesn't. And like Diddy said, I think there'll be changes. So I don't think it's that, you know, that given that they're going to beat the Czechs.
All right. Interesting stuff to come.